Welcome to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? This is your go-to source for practical advice and support when considering if a divorce is the right answer for you. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll uncover a variety of topics such as child custody, property division, and self-care. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here is your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst Professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to tackle one of those topics that's pretty important for divorcing parents with children, and that is child support. So really, child support is all about ensuring the well-being of the children. And it's not about punishing one parent, but really you got to financial support your kids. And that goes true for during the divorce and after the divorce. So it helps really to maintain a sense of normalcy and ensures both parents contribute to their child's well-being. Now, calculating child support, that's a little trickier because the exact amount of child support really does vary state by state, but generally it's all based on certain criteria, and some of that criteria here is the income of both parents. So each parent's gross income before taxes is considered. The number of children for child support. More children typically means higher support payments. Custody arrangements. So primary physical custody can influence the amount being paid. And then the child's needs. This includes basic necessities like food, clothing, and shelter, as well as healthcare, education, and extracurricular activities. Now, who pays and who receives? Well, typically the parent with the higher income pays child support to the parent with primary custody. However, some states have shared custody arrangements where both parents contribute financially. It's not really set in stone. Child support orders aren't permanent. If there's significant change in income for either parent, the child's needs change, or there's a shift in custody arrangements, the child support order can be reviewed and modified by the court. Now, let's address some common concerns. First, what if the paying parent can't afford child support? The court will consider their financial situation, but there may be consequences for non-payment. What if the receiving parent misuses the money? Child support is meant for the child, so discuss any concerns with a divorce attorney. And then, can child support cover college costs? Generally, child support does not cover college, but there might be a separate agreement for higher education expenses. So as you can tell, child support's pretty darn complex, and so, it might be wise to seek some professional help. Consult with a divorce attorney. They can explain your state-specific, child support guidelines and advocate for your child's best interest. Then there's the child support calculator. Many state websites offer calculators to estimate potential child support amounts. Now, remember, it's just an estimate. You're going to have to consult a divorce attorney for the specifics. And also keep in mind that the goal of child support is to ensure your children's well-being, both financially and emotionally, throughout the transition and beyond. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? Should you have any questions, drop them in the comments or reach out to me. My information's everywhere. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Hello and welcome back to Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to get into the world of common law marriages and how they work or don't work when it comes to divorce. And so while it may seem like common law marriages are not very, common, you would actually be right. So it's not even, really recognized everywhere, from a state standpoint or government standpoint. I mean, only a handful of states in the U.S. still acknowledge them. These typically include places like Colorado, Utah, and Texas. If you're unsure about your state laws, definitely consult with a lawyer so you don't want to be caught by surprise. Now, you think you're common law married? Well, even states that recognize them, establishing common law marriages requires meeting specific criteria. It's not just about living together for a long time. Generally, you need to cohabitate, which means live together as a couple, sharing a home and finances. You have to hold yourselves out as being married, publicly present yourselves as spouses using shared last names or introducing each other as husband and wife, or have the intent to be married. And, this is a little trickier to prove, but essentially, you both must have understood yourselves to be in a committed marriage-like relationship. Now, if you do qualify as a common law married couple and decide to split, then yes, you'll need a divorce, just like any other married couple. However, the process can actually be even more complex, if you can imagine that. So we got the first hurdle here, which is the proof of marriage. And since there's no marriage license, you'll have to convince the court you are actually in a common law marriage. And this might involve witness testimonies, financial records showing joint accounts, or even shared property deeds. Now, once you establish your marital status, the divorce process itself becomes similar to a traditional divorce. You'll tackle issues like property division, child custody if you have kids, and potentially spousal maintenance. So we want to consider your options. If you're contemplating a divorce in a common law marriage, here's what I would have you keep in mind. And first is know your state laws. Not all states recognize common law marriage, so it is important to know if you are in a state that does. Then you're going to want to gather evidence, document your cohabitation, finances, and any public recognition as a couple, and consult with a lawyer. They can guide you through the specific legal hurdles of a common law divorce. Remember, you got options. Even without a formal marriage license, a common law marriage can be dissolved through the proper legal channels. I'd like to thank you for joining me today on this episode Is Divorce the Answer? And should you have any questions on today's topic or other financial planning issues, please feel free to leave them in the comment section or just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Hi, and welcome back to Breaking Ties Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today's topic is really pretty critical for anyone considering getting a divorce, and that is understanding your state laws. Now, state laws can be just a maze of information that's just absolutely like going down a rabbit hole. But we got to remember, divorce isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. And every state has its own set of laws governing things like residency requirements. You might need to live in the state for a specific period before filing for divorce. They also might have laws for, grounds for divorce. Some states require proof of fault, like adultery or abuse, while others allow for no-fault divorce based on separation. You also got to look at the laws on property division. Is your state a community property state, dividing assets equally, or is it equitable distribution where the split is based on fairness? And then also state laws on like child custody and support. And these procedures and calculations also vary state by state. Now, knowing your state divorce laws empowers you throughout the entire process, really. And here's how. It's going to allow you to make some informed decisions. Understanding the legal aspect of divorce helps you navigate issues like residency requirements, grounds for divorce, and what type of lawyer you might need. Also helps you set realistic expectations. Knowing the potential timeline and costs involved can help you prepare mentally and financially for the process. And then lastly, building a strong case. If you anticipate a contested divorce, knowledge of relevant laws can be pretty important for your lawyer in building a strong case. Now, where do we find them? The state laws, where can they be? All right. So we got some resources, and that is, looking at your state government website. Most state governments have websites with dedicated sections on family law and divorce. More locally could be the State Bar Association. Many of them offer resources and information specifically for the public on divorce laws. And then also like reputable legal information websites. There are several really websites out there offering general information on divorce laws by state, but be cautious and stick with only reputable sources. I mean, your main source is really going to be, your state website and stuff. Now, beyond the websites, consulting a lawyer is probably one of the most critical places you could go for information. And, online resources are good at providing a starting point, but there really is no substitute for personal advice from a qualified divorce lawyer in your state. They can help you dive, deep into the specifics of your situation and then provide legal guidance tailored to your needs because they have the experience to do so. So divorce is a, complex legal process, and having the knowledge is power, and understanding your state divorce laws will equip you to navigate this challenging time with more confidence and clarity. If you got questions on today's topic, toss them in the comments or reach out to me. My information's all over the place. I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Breaking Ties. Is Divorce the Answer? And remember that divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. Take care. Hi, and welcome back to Breaking Ties. Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today I want to get into probably one of the most critical documents in any divorce, and that is the financial affidavit. What we're really trying to piece together here for the courts and for our attorneys and for us and our exes is really, putting this financial jigsaw puzzle together. I mean, divorce involves more than one, emotional upheaval, type of thing. I mean, it's a financial upheaval as well. Now, the financial affidavit really is the key to piecing together a fair and equitable settlement. And what's in it? Well, it's really a financial snapshot. It's going to detail things like income. You're going to include your wages, salaries, bonus, investments, everything that brings in money. You're going to include in there the debts, whether it's mortgages, car loans, credit card balances, really all of your financial obligations. It's going to list assets like your house, cars, retirement accounts, any property you own. And then it's also going to include expenses, your monthly bills, living costs, childcare expenses, everything you spend money on. Now, why does it matter? Well, the information is really important for the court to determine several key things with your divorce. And, first and foremost is going to be property division, whether it's community property state or equitable distribution. The affidavit really helps determine how assets and debts are divided fairly. There's also spousal maintenance. So if one spouse needs financial assistance after the divorce, the affidavit helps assess, the needs and the other spouse's ability to pay. And then we also need to include child support. So for couples with children, the financial affidavit plays a key role in calculating child support payments based on income and expenses. So filling out a financial affidavit really requires complete transparency. You got to remember, it is a sworn statement, and any misrepresentation can actually have serious consequences. Gather documentation like pay stubs, tax returns, and bank statements to ensure accuracy. And while the financial affidavit is primarily for the court, it also serves to help you, and it can do this by helping you gain some clarity. So getting a clear picture of your financial situation empowers you to make informed decisions about the settlement agreement. And then prepare for the future as well. Understanding your financial situation allows for you to plan your post-divorce life, budgeting and managing your finances independently. Now, completing the financial affidavit can be quite daunting. And while you can find templates online, consider consulting with a divorce attorney. They can guide you through the process, ensuring accuracy and completeness. And then there's also the financial advisor. They can help you understand your financial picture and make informed decisions about your assets and debts. The bottom line here is that the financial affidavit is probably one of the most important documents, definitely for ensuring a fair and equitable divorce settlement. By understanding its purpose and approaching it honestly, you can navigate this financial aspect of divorce and you can have some confidence in doing it. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? Should you have any questions on today's topic, drop them in the comments or reach out to me. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. All the best. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? I'm your host, Mike Fulkerson, financial advisor and certified divorce financial analyst professional. And today we're going to tackle a question that pops up fairly frequently, and that is, should you have a therapist on your divorce team? Now, divorce, as we know, is quite the emotional roller coaster. And let's face it, it's just a flat out whirlwind of one thing after another. 1 minute you're contemplating separation, the next you're drowning in legalities and logistical nightmares, all while navigating a roller coaster of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, maybe even a flicker of hope for reconciliation. It's quite a lot to handle. So, and this is where a therapist really could be a game changer. They can provide you, a safe space to unpack your emotions, understand your own needs, and work through the grief and anger that often come with the end of a marriage. Therapy isn't about taking sides. It's about giving you the tools to navigate this difficult time with clarity and self-compassion. Even if your divorce is amicable, therapy can still be incredibly beneficial. A therapist can help you make critical decisions, communicate effectively with your soon-to-be ex, and prioritize the well-being of any children involved. You're really going to want to find the right fit, though. So the idea of therapy might feel intimidating, but remember, therapists are there to guide you, not judge you. Look for someone who specializes in divorce and feels like it's a good fit for you and your family. It really is about you. So you want to prioritize comfort and expertise. Now, is therapy for everyone? No, it isn't. Therapy isn't a magic bullet, and it won't solve every divorce problem. But for many people, it's a critical support system during this challenging time. You're going to want to ask some questions of yourself, when you're considering looking for a therapist. And we're going to start with, am I struggling to cope with emotional fallout? Or do I need help communicating with my ex? Do I have children? And if so, how can I best support them through this? And lastly, am I worried about making the right decisions? So if you answered yes to any of these, therapy might be incredibly valuable. You got to remember, you're not alone. Okay. Divorce is a really complex process, and there's no shame in seeking help. A therapist can be really a beacon of support throughout this entire journey. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Breaking Ties, Is Divorce the Answer? If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or shoot me an email or give me a call. My information's in the podcast. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. All the best.